Okay, so this is lesson 5. This is on page M167, talking about half turns and quarter turns, which is just rotations of figures in the coordinate plane. So we're going to rotate geometric figures 90 and 180 degrees, and we're going to identify and describe the effect. Okay, so I'm on page M169. So you can notice there was this Z looking symbol. I felt like it was way too many points for the beginning of for starting out. So if you notice, I did the triangle E or AEF. So I just marked the points on there and put A, E, and F, and then I marked out all of these other ones so that it's not as complex. Okay, and then I remembered that I needed to do this while I was recording. So remember, on your patty paper, draw your X and Y axis, and then let's draw and it's kind of hard, so once you draw it, reline up your X and Y axis, because if you don't and you slit it just a little bit, it will mess you up. So then we have point E, point F, and point A. So this one should be the most familiar in the coordinates just because of the way we had done rotating when not on coordinates. So if you notice, this problem right here says mark the origin 0, 0 as the center. Rotate the figure 180 degrees. So remember, 180 degrees, it doesn't matter which direction you go. What's kind of nice is if you poke a hole in your patty paper where your pencil comes through, and then you put your pencil on the origin or the center, then when you rotate, it keeps it in that spot. So that's why you want the hole. Okay, so here we go. All right, we're going to go 180 degrees. So remember, that's 90 degrees, and then that's 180 degrees. Okay, I'm actually going to pick that up, and I'm going to mark those points on the back so that whenever I get there, it will transfer it on for me. Okay, make sure that your X and Y axis are lined up again. Notice I'm holding it down, like after I got done spinning it, I'm holding it down in the spot I want with my 2 fingers, and then I'm going to mark those points. Oops, it didn't go through. Let's try that again, because it just went straight through the paper. So I'm going to kind of ended up putting a hole through the paper, but that's okay, because then it made it easier. Remember to kind of look at the layout of your triangle. So notice A is that point up here, so that would be A prime. This is E prime, and this would be F prime. All right. So then we have, this one's the pink one, the pre-image, and then let's do the image. So A prime, notice it's at -2, -1, because it went left 2 and down 1. E is at -2, 6, I just marked it slightly off. So -2, -6. F prime, is at -5, -6. Okay. So then it says mark the origin 0, 0 as the center of rotation. Trace a ray, which is just a line. So if you notice from the center to that point, and I'm going to do a different color so that it's easier to see it. And I'm going to do green because it's always so light. So from the origin to that, and then from the origin to that, So from point A to A prime, you should be able to see that that's a straight line through the origin. If I did E, let me get my ruler, except for I don't have a ruler right in front of me, so I'm just going to use the edge of a piece of paper because I don't have a ruler in front of me right now. Notice I'm going, see how those are straight lines through the origin? I'm just showing you that. There is a connection with that. But when you have a straight line like that, remember the angle of a straight line is 180. Okay, so compare the coordinates. So remember, just like we did in reflecting, if you look at rotation, notice 2 became -2, 1 became -1. On E, 2 became -2, 6 became -6, F, 5 became -5, 6 became -6. So what you should notice is that both the X and Y values became negative. So if I put that triangle back on there, and let's say that this is our new, like say this is our original, like if we started here and then I rotated 180 degrees this direction, notice it would have gone from negative to positive. So if these were flipped and I was going the opposite direction, so if I was going from here to here, notice the signs change. So I want you to put that big note down here. The sign changes for both. So the sign actually changed for both of them. Okay, so I'm going to go over here to this 5.2, which is where we're writing the rules. We will put it in our notebook in the next set, or in the next lesson or whatever, or in just a little bit. So if we notice, so if I'm up here and I rotate here, so again, if I am 5 over and 3 up, if I'm going to rotate down here, I would be, and let me show you this over here so I don't mess you up. So notice if I'm 2 over and 1 up, then I'm going to be 2 back and 1 down. Or if I'm 2 over and 6 up, I would be 2 back and 6 down. So I would be 5 back and 3 down. So it kind of makes that little triangle and it just rotates. So instead of being 5 over 3 up, it'd be 5 over 3 down. But all I want you to remember is it's negative x, negative y. So when we rotate 180 degrees about the origin, it's negative x, comma, negative y. And rotation is the hardest one. 180 seems to be okay because you can actually take your paper and you can go whoop, that's 90 and then 180. Okay, so that is 180, and again we'll write that rule in just a minute. But now we're going to do this one. Okay, so sometimes you have figures that are in more than one quadrant. And remember, this is quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if you look at 2, again, take your patty paper. You're going to mark the x and y axis. That's the y axis. That's the x-axis. Line your thing up just to make sure it didn't get off just a little bit. So that's A, B, C, D. Sorry, you couldn't see what I was doing. I just marked the points first. Okay, so here we go. again, take a pencil. It says about the origin, so wherever you're going to be rotating about, sometimes they switch it up to confuse you, but for now we're just going to be doing the origin. So put your pencil through the origin, that's where we're rotating, that's the center of rotation. And we're going to go 90 degrees, and it says counterclockwise. So counterclockwise, think about a clock. If you want to draw a clock, then draw a clock. So 12, 3, 6, 9. So counterclockwise would be going this direction. That's counterclockwise. Okay. Alright, so here we go. Make sure I'm on the origin. And then I'm going to go 90 degrees. So remember, that's 90 degrees because that right there is a 90-degree angle. That's the x and y axis make a 90-degree angle with each other. So I'm going to mark my points on the back just so then I can make them transfer through. You can also, it was pretty easy last time that it poked through, so if you wanted to do that, you could do that as well. So rotate so that those are right there. Okay, so I know that took quite a while, but and then lay your paper so that you know which point. So this is A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. Okay, so we need to pull the points off for the original. So A was at -1, 6. B is at 2, 4. C is at, the original is at 3, 0. Because it went right 3 and up 0. D is at 0, 2. So make sure you pay attention to that. B moved just straight up, so the y value is 2. C is to the right, so the x value is 3. Okay, so this first one is the green one that I just did. So A prime, and notice I did add a part to the table here just because I wanted to make sure to show you that. So A prime, you would go back 6, and then it's down 1. So instead of being from the origin, it's 1 and then 6, it's now 1 and 6. Okay, B prime is -4, 2. C prime is at 0, because it didn't move left or right any, 0, 3. D prime is at -2, 0. Okay, before we move on, I want to talk about what's different between those two. So notice it's -1, 6, and then it became -6, 1. 2, 4 became -4, 2. 3, 0 became 0, 3. 0, 2 became -2, 0. So this one is definitely harder to identify than the ones that we've been looking at. So the first thing I want you to notice is what happened to the 1 and the 6. So we had 1, then 6, and now we have 6 and 1. Ignore the signs for now. Just look at the numbers. So 1, 6, 6, 1. 2, 4, 4, 2. 3, 0, 0, 3. 0, 2, 2, 0. So ignore the signs. So we know that, let's just write that. The numbers switched. So the numbers switched. And then what do you notice? So which ones did the signs change? So -1 stayed -1. 2 stayed 2. 3 stayed 3. 0 stayed 0. So the original x value stayed the same. Now let's look at the original y value. So if you look, the original y, 6, became -6. The original y was +4, now it's -4. 0, can 0 be negative? If 0 changed to -0, do we ever write a -0? No. So maybe that's why that one doesn't look like it changed. And then 2 became -2. So the original y value changed signs. So when we rotated 90 degrees counterclockwise, so the numbers switched, so they switched like this, and then the original x stayed the same and the original y changed signs. So I'm going to go back to that M137 where we're right here. So if I go 90 degrees counterclockwise, the way we write this rule is x, y. We said that they changed, or they switched, so y, x. And then we said the original y value changed signs. So remember that negative means opposite. And this one should have been opposite. Anytime you see those negatives, remember that they always mean opposite. So if I moved from here to here, let's say if this was 4, 3, then you can see that then it became 3, 4. So it went backwards 3. So that's really hard to think about. That's why I very much suggest anytime you're doing rotation, you always use patty paper, just because it's so hard to think about sometimes. Or at least like turn your paper. So if I'm at XY and then I rotate my whole paper, notice it would be back X and up Y. Okay? So all this is saying is whatever number this Y was, that's how much you're going to move along, and then that's how much you're going to move up. So you just switch the two X and Y values, and then you write that. So let's check that again. So let's do B. So B went from 2, 4 to -4, 2. So however much it went up is now how much it went back. So that's why rotations are so difficult. So I know I just said that, but please, 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 please use patty paper. Where did my patty paper go? Oh, here it is. So please use patty paper. That's why if you need to, find a graph in your notebook or your paper and then graph it. Don't just rely on trying to think about it in your head. Okay? This video is already 19 minutes long, so I'm going to go ahead and do this one in the next video.